Yes, hello everyone. Yes, somebody please ping me if I am audible so that I can start the session. Good evening, Jayashri. Good evening, Uvasri. Yes, guys, somebody please ping me if I am audible so that I can start the session. Good evening, Anshu. Okay, thank you. Hello everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform. Let's crack UPSC CSE English. Now, before I start with a very important topic, that is extremist section of the Indian National Congress, let me introduce myself for the people who are new on the platform. My name is Alok Ojha. I've done my engineering from Pune. I have been associated with the field of UPSC for past 6 years. I hold the experience of giving serious SSB twice. I have been through various stages of civil services exam. I hold the experience of exams like CAPF Assistant Commandant and Uttar Pradesh PSC. I'm involved into the field of teaching since past 4 to 4.5 years, and I have mentored more than 10,000 students for UPSC. Now, there might be question in the mind of an aspirant why one should prefer Unacademy as a platform for online learning. So here are the ample of reasons why one should prefer Unacademy as a platform for online learning. First of all, you'll have daily life classes on the Unacademy platform. Unacademy offers you assimilation of top and dynamic educators of India on a single platform. You can directly interact with the educators. You can clear all sorts of doubts with the educators. Secondly, Unacademy offers you live tests and quizzes. And through live tests and quizzes, an aspirant can build up his competence, which will help him out basically in competing with the other aspirants on pan India basis. Because UPSC is an exam which is conducted on pan India basis. So, an aspirant needs to develop that sort of competitiveness so that he can compete with the fellow aspirants on pan India basis. Then, all the courses on an academy platform are highly structured in nature, and there is a proper timetable through which the courses are being conducted. And one can have unlimited access to the courses on an academy platform. Here are the few top and dynamic educators of India from whom you are going to learn through. These are the courses being offered on the Unacademy platform. Subscribe to Unacademy and use my code AKOUS. I repeat the code AKOUS. Now, there is also something called as iconic subscription. For example, if you are preparing for civil services and you are a beginner for in this exam, now there might be question like what strategy that needs to be adopted, what timetable should be formed, because usually we are very good at maintaining the timetables. We are very good at making the timetables, but hardly very few people follow that timetable. Why? Because we make our timetable very hefty. Like for example, in the initial start itself, we make a timetable of 10 to 12 hours on a daily basis. Like basically a timetable should be like a Kaizen principle. I'll give you a very small example. Your goal is to become an IAS or an IPS officer. That is basically your final goal. Now, this final goal should be basically divided into small short-term goals. Now, these small short-term goals will help you in reaching your final goal. And one of the best strategy to achieve the final goal is to achieve the short-term goal. So, timetable plays a very major role basically in clearing this exam within just very first attempt. Okay. So basically, there would be a mentor who would be guiding you throughout your preparation for civil services. Like what strategy needs to be adopted, what is the importance of answer writing. He would be evaluating your answers and suggesting you the model answers, basically, what should be the answers, basically. So there would be a proper mentor who would be guiding you throughout the preparation for civil services. If you choose me as your mentor, use my code AKOUS. I repeat the code AKOUS. Okay. Good evening, Supriya. Good evening, Vaishali. Good evening, Shashank. Good evening, Aisha. Good evening, Raghupati. Good evening, PK. Okay. So yesterday we have discussed about the moderates. We have discussed about the formation of Indian National Congress. Now, let me talk about the background in short within 2 minutes so that the people who are new on the platform or who are attending my session for the first time can easily understand the relevance of the topic. Okay? Now, after revolt of 1857, there were certain pre-Congress organizations that were formed. And these pre-Congress organizations played a very major role in developing the nationalist fervor, in developing the nationalism throughout the country. Now, these organizations were formed in various presidencies of India, like Bombay Presidency, Bengal Presidency, and Madras Presidency. Indian National Congress was formed on 20th December 1885 at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College, and the first session of the Indian National Congress was presided by Vomesh Chandra Banerjee. Initially, the meeting for the first session of the Indian National Congress was decided to be held at Pune, but there was an outbreak of plague, there was an outbreak of cholera in the form of an epidemic. Okay, so the venue was shifted to Bombay. And now the first session of the Indian National Congress was held at Bombay, which was attended by 72 delegates. Second session of Indian National Congress was presided by one of the very renowned personality, also referred as Grand Old Man of India, that is Dadabhai Naoroji. And approximately 436 delegates attended the second session of the Indian National Congress. And it was in the second session of Indian National Congress that it was decided basically that we are going to meet every year and discuss the issues of national importance. Now, by 1890, the number of delegates rose up to 2000. Okay. Now, right from the start itself, moderates was driven by an ideology which was called as moderates ideology. Okay. And for the first 20 years, like from 1885 to 1905, the entire Congress was driven by an ideology of moderates. And moderates believed in a steady progress. They believed in peaceful and bloodless struggle. Like they were opposed to the policies of the Britishers, but they always maintained one thing that is called as providential mission theory. Now, what is this providential mission theory? Now, moderates believe that if we remain loyal to the Britishers, if we peacefully protest against the Britishers, if we pass petitions and resolutions against the Britishers in a peaceful manner, some or the other day, Britishers are going to give us independence. So they believed in a very steady progress. They do not wanted independence all of a together, all of a sudden. They wanted independence in a stage by stage manner. Now, one of the major achievements of the moderates was getting Indian Council Act of 1892 passed. Okay. Now, 5, when Lord Curzon announced partition of Bengal, it is said that there was what we say differences came to the fore. Like Congress started getting divided on the basis of ideology. One was moderates and the other was extremist. Now let us understand about extremist. Hope so you have understood the background till here. Now let us understand what were the important causes for rise of extremism. Now let us go in a very simplified and point-wise format. First of all, recognition of the true nature of British rule. Economic miseries that were caused around 1890s was exposed, which completely exposed the exploitative character of the colonial rule. I'll give you a small example. There was economic exploitation right from the start itself. Economic exploitation of India started after Battle of Plassey itself. Now, it was in the form of land revenue system, which was imposed upon the peasant. Our rural industry, our artisan industry, our handicraft industry was completely paralyzed by the Britishers and their policies. So, we people had to face the wrath of the policies, economic exploitative policies of the Britishers. But in 1890s, there were a lot many famines in India. If you look at the session of famines that I have taken, you will observe that majority of the famine occurred from 1870 to 1900. In these 3 decades, there were many famines in India. Rather than working for the condition of the peasant, Rather than ameliorating the condition of the peasant, Britishers were exploiting the peasants, Britishers were exploiting the tribals, Britishers were exploiting the artisans more and more. So, for the first time again, even after the formation of Indian National Congress, it was clear that Britishers' only intention is to exploit the economic resources of India and the people of India. Secondly, during famine, approximately around 9 million people perished. 9 million means 90 lakh people were displaced, and Britishers hardly did anything because in famine like condition there is shortage of food. Then there are various epidemics in the form of plague, cholera, and so on. People are forced to live up in derogatory conditions. Majorly, people live in the regions of slum. There is no proper hygiene, sanitation, or vaccination. And rather than working for these things, Britishers were heavily interested. They were highly interested in their colonial goals. They were exploiting the people of India economically. Then, bubonic plagues in the region of Deccan. There was large scale riots in the region of Deccan. Now, as I've told you, like during the situation of famine, there is not only one problem. There are multitudes of problems like poverty, unemployment, unhygienic condition. People are forced to live in a very derogatory conditions. Now, all these were highly what we say derogatory against the interest of we Indian people. And the condition in the region of was very derogatory. Like even today, if you observe the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, now there are a lot of famines in the region of Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. You might have heard basically in the news majorly every time that farmer suicide is majorly, even if you Google it, you will come to know. Majority of the farmer suicide in the region of Maharashtra is from the region of Vidarbha. Why? Because there is always lack of monsoon there. There are no infrastructural development facilities in the form of irrigation and dams. Similarly, at that time, this was the condition in the region of Maharashtra and specifically Deccan area, basically. Then, I have told you, with the efforts of moderate, Indian Council Act of 1892 was passed. Now, to be very frank, Indian Council Act of 1892 was a shadow rather than substance. I'll give you a very small example so that you will easily understand how this act was very derogatory. Like it was making the Indians fool. Now let us understand. One of the clauses of the Indian Council Act of 1892 was Indian ministers could discuss the budget, but they did not had the right to vote upon the budget. Are you getting the points clear? For example, Britishers have created a defense budget. Now they want to buy more weapons. They want to buy more ammunitions. Now one of the ministers opposes it and says that rather than spending money on the defense, we can spend money for welfare of the people. Our country is plagued by many problems like poverty, unemployment, then famines and various diseases and so on. Rather than working for the welfare of the people, you are spending more money on weapons and ammunition. Why? Because you want to expand your territory in the name of colonization. So all these things were discussed, but our ministers did not have the right to vote. So what is the use of such debate and discussion if you do not have the right to vote? Because the final right was with the Governor General and his council, whether to pass the budget or not. The authority was in the hand of Britishers. Only Indians could discuss the budget. Even if they have highlighted the flaws, it does not mean that these flaws would be removed. So what is the use of such a budget? So Indian Council Act was severely criticized by the nationalist and specifically the extremist section. Then Tilak was imprisoned on the charges of sedition. Sedition basically in Hindi means Rajdroha. Like basically to sensitize the people of India. Tilak sensitized the people of India through his newspaper. He sensitized the people of India through magazines, journals, pamphlets, leaflet. And Britishers, and he highlighted the derogatory characters of the Britishers, the exploitative nature of the Britishers, basically. So it is said that Tilak completely highlighted the policies of the Britishers and he was charged on the he was imprisoned for this. Then there was something called as Calcutta Corporation Act, and as per this act, the number of Indian members were reduced in it. Now, as per Calcutta Corporation, there were few Indian members into it. Okay, and what was the purpose of it? These Indian members are going to suggest the policies which are Indian centric, which are important from administrative purpose in India, which will improve the efficiency and effectiveness of Indian administration, basically. So Calcutta Corporation Act, as per this act, the number of Indian members were reduced and more Britishers were involved in it. I'll give you a small example. Suppose to frame a particular policy. Suppose there is a committee on education, and now there are 10 members in that. Out of 10 members, initially there were 6 Britishers and 4 Indians. Now there are 8 Britishers and 2 Indians. Now you are framing educational policies for Indian, and you are involving more Britishers into it. So what is the use of such an act? This is nothing but Calcutta Corporation Act. And basically it is said that basically there was like Britishers always tried to exploit and divide the people of India. They always played the game of divide and rule and carrot and stick policy. So, and these were the what we say failures of the moderates, because moderates could not achieve all these aims and goals. Then secondly, yes guys, did you get the point still here? Please let me know. Are the points clear till here? Good evening Kiran. Good evening Shipra. Good evening Kiruba. Good evening Sarfaraz. Good evening Satya. Are the points clear till here? Okay. Now, growth of self-respect and self-confidence. Now, initially under the doctrine of lapse, if you remember one system, under doctrine of lapse that was initiated by Lord Dalhousie, he annexed the kingdom of Awadh on the pretext of maladministration. That Awadh, the kingdom of Awadh or the ruler of Awadh, was unable to take care of the administration properly. That is why we are annexing the kingdom. Now, after the formation of Indian National Congress, initially moderates were not confident of governing themselves. If they could have been confident of governing themselves, they could have said that we want immediate independence. We want complete independence rather than demanding self-government in India. Isn't that so? So basically, there was growth of self-respect and self-confidence among the nationalists of India, up specifically among the extremist section. And they believed that we are completely capable of governing ourselves, because in the past we had leaders who had governed the administration in a very dynamic and wonderful manner. And the propagators of this were Aurobindo Ghosh, Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, basically, Lala Lajpat Rai. And they believed that if masses unite together, they can create havoc. I'll give you a very small example. Like there is a criticism about the moderates that moderate section basically confined the elite section of the society. Majorly, it consists of journalists, it consisted of lawyers, it consisted of industrialists, it consisted of landlords. So moderate section was criticized on this aspect. And moderates believed one thing, that our Indian masses are not ready for a struggle now. First of all, we need to politically educate them and then we can bring them into the struggle. But extremists believe that we Indians are ready for the struggle and we should not forget our capacity. So extremists believe completely in arousing the sentiments of the Indian people right from the grassroots level. They did not focus on the elite section of the society. They focused from grassroots level of the society. Okay. Now, growth of education. Western ideas had created a lot of impact on the minds of Indian nationalists. I'll give you a small example. American Revolution and French Revolution served the purpose for this. Now, America was a colony of Britain. Britain had 13 colonies in America, we are going to see these aspects in world history. Britain had 13 colonies in America. Now, these 13 colonies amalgamated together and overthrew the rule of Britain. And there was establishment of democracy in America. Then French Revolution sensitized the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. French Revolution was not only the revolution which was confined to France, but it served as a model for the entire world for very liberal ideas, freedom of speech and expression. Now, basically, the extremist section were Western educated. Okay, although being Western educated, they were very low paid. Even if they are the part of the administration, they were very low paid. They were highly unemployed, but still they were surcharged with modern ideas, liberal ideas, because they knew about the politics of Europe, they knew about the history of the world, and now they wanted to replicate the same thing in India. So, education, growth of Western education helped a lot basically in the rise of extremism. Okay, then satisfaction with the achievement of moderates. From 1885 to 1905, that is Swadeshi movement, the achievement of moderates was highly negligible as per extremist. As per extremist, although they achieved Indian Council Act of 1892, but I have highlighted the example that Indian Council Act of 1892 was more of a shadow rather than substance. Rather than giving more rights to Indians, the rights were taken up. Isn't that so? Like I have given you a small example. You can discuss the budget, but you cannot vote upon the budget. So, what is the use of such debate and discussion? And the final authority lies with whom? The Governor General and his Council, Secretary of State for India, and the Viceroy. So, indirectly, the British Parliament was controlling the Indian affairs, it was controlling the Indian administration. So, there is basically extremist section who are highly dissatisfied with this. In 1905, basically, Lord Curzon announced the partition of Bengal. And partition of Bengal was announced on the pretext of Bengal had become too big to be administered by a single governor. That is why we are dividing the Bengal. This was as per Lord Curzon. But actually, he wanted to divide the Bengal on what pretext? He wanted to disturb the communal harmony of Bengal. He wanted to divide the people, that is Hindus and the Muslim basically. Now, at Banaras session of the Indian National Congress in 1905, which was presided by Gopal G.K. Gokhale, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, a call for Swadeshi movement was given. Now, initially it was decided that Swadeshi movement would be confined to the region of Bengal. But when Swadeshi movement became successful, extremists wanted the Swadeshi movement to spread to entire India. But this was heavily opposed by the moderates. And moderates, when extremists were working with the Indians at the grassroots level, moderates were sitting in the London and negotiating with the Viceroy and Secretary of State for India. That is, and they believed that the policy of prayer, the policy of resolution, petitions, it's like political mendicancy. What is mendicancy? We are begging for our own independence. Independence is our right. Freedom is our right. We need not beg for it. So that is why extremists criticize this as political mendicancy. Hope so the points are clear till here, my friends. Please let me know so that I can move further. Yes, Satya, they were playing a very political game. Britishers always followed one policy, carrot and stick policy. Like, for example, if they have to give certain rights to a particular section, they will suppress one section. This is called as carrot and stick policy. Yes, Satya, you are correct. Yes, Sarfaraz, I will be conducting world history sessions as well. Yes, guys, are the points clear till here? Okay. Now, international influences also led to the growth of extremist phase of nationalism in India. Now, Japan. I had, like, when I was explaining the iconic subscription while back, I talked about one of the principle that is called as Kaizen principle. If you follow any video concerning about the how Japanese people are more progressive in comparison to other people of the world, you will come across one thing. They follow Kaizen principle. That is, they break their main goal into small short-term goals. And Japan has served a role model for the entire world. Japan is such a country which is every time hit either by tsunami or by flood or by famine or by earthquake, but still it has risen up in an exemplary manner. So, Japan, like if a country, an Asian country like Japan can progress, like industrialization was in vogue in Europe, but this industrialization in the 19th century was replicated in Japan. If a small island Asian country like Japan can make such a heavy progress, why can't we make such progress? Okay, like India was basically since past times, India was basically having trading contacts with the other civilizations of the world. If you remember in the Indus Valley civilization, I've talked about this. They had trading contacts with the other civilizations of the world. So India was a very progressive nation. So we can bring back that progress again. Secondly, the treatment that was given to Indians in the South Africa was very derogatory, and I've already talked about it. Like basically, it is said that there were various laborers that were living in South Africa. They were working in the plantation field, and the condition in which they were living was very derogatory. They were living in the slums where the condition was highly unhygienic. There was no proper sanitation facilities. They were completely oppressed by the Englishmen living there. Like always, they had to carry a passport size of document to reveal their identity, and they were discriminated on the basis of color of the skin. So there was something called as racial discrimination. Then basically, Boers War. Now basically, Boers were the traditional tribal people of Africa. And when Britain occupied certain regions of South Africa, they started suppressing these tribals like they were suppressing the Indian tribals. Now, initially, they did not interfere with the tribals of the Africa, but with the passage of time, for exploiting more and more resources of Africa. Like Britishers came to know about diamonds and gold. Even like Coolgardie mines today of South Africa are known for gold and diamonds. Africa is called as dark continent, but still it is full of natural resources and mineral resources. And Britishers wanted to exploit these resources in the name of colonialism. Because the only role of colonialism is what? Imperialism plus exploitation. That is, expanding and acquiring new territories and exploiting the resources and the people of that territory. This was replicated in Africa. So these tribals grouped together against these alien rule. If they can do so, why can't we? A small country of Africa, that is Ethiopia, have revolted against Italian army. Now Ethiopia was supported by France and Russia, but still they had the courage, they had the valor to retaliate against the huge power of Italy. So if they can do this, why can't we do it? So international influences also played a very major role in sensitizing the masses of India, and specifically the extremist section of the Indian National Congress. Got the points clear about the international influences, guys? Please let me know. Yes, Sarfaraz. True. Okay. Now, reaction of increasing westernization. Now, let us understand this. Majorly, we have seen that moderate ideology was basically driven, or moderates were basically inspired by the outside events. They were like, although extremists were also influenced by the international influences, but moderates had their ideological base outside India. But extremists had their ideological base within India. They believed in their own capacity. Like, for example, Swami Vivekanand ji, then Rabindranath Tagore ji, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, then Swami Dayanand Saraswati. I'll give you a very small example. Swami Vivekanand, after coming from the World Parliament of Religions, he toured the entire India. And after touring the entire India, he wrote a wonderful book that is Vartaman Bharat. And basically, he highlighted the flaws of the Indian society that was prevalent at that time. And he said that here we need to understand the capacity of the masses. The only hope is from the masses, because until and unless the people at the grassroots level are going to unite against the alien rule, nothing can be done. Basically, we cannot gain independence because the upper class is physically and morally dead. Like, for example, when revolt of 1857 occurred, peasant section participated, artisans participated, then various sections of the Indian society participated, but there wasn't any participation from the side of major Rajas and princes. Very few zamindars and landlords participated. That is why Swami Vivekanand ji has criticized them as physically and morally dead, because their dignity, their ethics had completely declined. They are maintaining loyalty towards the alien rule. Now we need to understand here that we need to unite the common people. We need to unite the masses against the alien rule. Then and then change is going to be possible in India. So basically, the ideological base for the extremist was our own past. Got the points clear? Then, reactionary policies of Curzon, Calcutta Corporation Act. I have already explained about the Calcutta Corporation Act. Like, basically, for example, if any changes need to be made in India, it should be driven by Indians. It should be decided by the Indians. For example, I'll give you a small example. Suppose, basically, in a particular region of India, irrigation facility needs to be developed. So survey should be made, analysis should be made, report should be prepared about the condition of soil in that region. Then how to work for mechanized farming in that region. So basically there would be a proper commission and committee to look after this. Okay. Now in Calcutta Corporation Act, as per this act, number of Indian members were reduced and more Britishers were increased. So how can the administrative efficiency improve? Then came Universities Act of 1904. Pay proper attention. Now, from 1899 to 1905, Lord Curzon was the Viceroy of India. And during his viceroyalty, he appointed Rayleigh Commission. And the purpose of Rayleigh Commission was to review the university education in India. He completely neglected the primary and the secondary education. And he completely focused on university education. And this was heavily criticized, and it was called as a retrograde measure. I'll give you a small example. Suppose if you directly start reading the reference book without going for the basic books, how can you understand the concept? Similarly, in the name of including Indians for the administration, you are focusing more on the university education rather than focusing on primary and secondary education. This is wrong, because primary and secondary education forms the basic fundamentals. These are the pillars for higher education. Isn't that so? So basically, University Act of 1804 was heavily criticized here. Then, Official Secrets Act and Sedition Act, basically, Official Secret Act was basically similar thing. Like, basically, they can arrest any Indians. They can imprison any Indians if these Indians are publishing derogatory against them. For example, if I am a nationalist leader and I'm sensitizing the masses through my journal, I'm sensitizing the masses through my newspaper, I could be any time arrested by the Britishers because I have written something different against their policies. Suppose this policy, that is University Act 1904. I am a nationalist leader. I have participated in the movement and I have criticized the University Act 1904. So basically, Britishers can arrest me anytime, charging me on sedition. Seditions mean Rajdroha. I'm working against the Britishers. Then partition of Bengal. I've already talked about partition of Bengal. Now, Lord Curzon decided to partition Bengal because he said that Bengal has become too big to be administered. But actually, he wanted to break the Hindu Muslim unity in the region of Bengal. That is why he decided to divide the Bengal in two parts, West and the East. Now, West basically was a Hindu majority area, and East was a Muslim majority area. So he wanted to divide the Hindus and Muslim. Got the points clear? So this created a sense of hatred against the foreign rule. Hope so the points are clear, my friends. One more thing. It is said that Curzon insulted Indians like letting off a gas. In very simple words, he did not pay attention or heed to the suggestions that were given by Indians. Taking it lightly, that is meaning of letting off a gas. Okay, taking things lightly. For example, if in a particular debate or discussion concerning the budget, if any Indian member has suggested certain changes, these changes won't be implemented, and Britishers hardly paid any attention to that. So they took things very lightly. This is letting off a gas. Got the points clear, Satya? Yes, guys, please let me know. Okay, now existence of militant nationalist school of thought. Raj Narayan Bose, Aurobindo Ghosh, Ashwin Kumar Dutt, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai. These form the fundamental pillars of the nationalist school of thoughts in India, or militant nationalist school of thoughts. They believed in extremist policies. Like basically, their basic principles were hatred for the foreign rule. Now, I have talked about basically moderate policy. Moderates believed in loyalty towards the Britishers. Now, why did they believe in loyalty? Because if we remain loyal to the Britishers, some or the other day, Britishers are going to repay us for our loyalty. Here, they focus basically extremist for hatredness against the British rule. Why hatredness against the British rule? Basically, because until and unless we are going to develop this hatredness, we cannot develop a nationalist fervor. Then, Swaraj to be the goal of national movement. Simple words, moderates believed in one thing, like right now we are not able to run our administration. We do not want independence all of a sudden, but we want it in a stage by stage manner. But extremists believe that we want Swaraj, and Swaraj means complete independence, and that too as soon as possible. Got the points? Then, direct political action is required against the Britishers was one of the major policy. Like moderates believed in petition, they believed in resolution. Simple words, they believed in constitutional limit. They believed that whatever we have to do within the limits of the constitution, within the framework of the law. But extremists believe that to gain independence, we have to go beyond the constitutional limit. Sometimes we have to break the law so that we can gain the independence as soon as possible. Moderates believed in the capacity of the elite section of the society, but extremists believe in the capacity of the masses. They believe that the people can change their own destiny and fate if they unite against the common, what we say, alien rule. So they believed in the capacity of masses. And finally, they believed in personal sacrifices. Like basically, they believed that even if you have to go to jail, even if you have to get imprisoned, do not go behind. Getting the points clear? Do not step aside. You need to, what we say, give up sacrifices. I'll give you a small example. A moderate leader is asking his followers to do this thing. He is asking his followers rather than doing it. But an extremist leader will do first, and because that people will sensitize by his doings basically. Isn't that so? For example, Lala Lajpat Rai ji, If he is opposing the policies of the Britishers and he is on the forefront, people will follow him. Why? Because the leader is at the forefront. So personal sacrifice is required. And the term Swaraj was introduced for the first time by Dayanand Saraswati ji. Yes, guys, are the points clear? Please let me know about, did you understand the causes for rise of extremism? Yes, guys, please let me know. Okay. Now let us understand important extremist leaders. Now let's talk about Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji. Now, his original name is Keshav Gangadhar Tilak and is also referred as Lokmanya. Now, what is Lokmanya? Lokmanya basically means accepted by the people as their leader. Okay? He was accepted by the people. People have considered him as a leader. Now, let us understand this. Lokmanya Tilak was always interested in educating the Indians. Like for this, he was one of the pioneers of Western education in Western, what we say, India, specifically in the region of Maharashtra. Like he started Deccan Education Society, which was later on called as Ferguson College. Basically, he always tried to sensitize the masses. He was always interested in uniting the people of India. And for that, he started Ganesh festival, that is Ganpati festival and Shivaji festival. And through these festivals, when people will gather, he will use that platform to sensitize the people. Like, for example, he also started one fund for what we say constructing the tomb of Shivaji, basically. So, basically, he started Shivaji festival and Ganesh festival. He sensitized the people of India through his two newspapers, that is Kesari and Maratha. Now, please do not get confused. Time and again, I have talked about this. Maratha is an English newspaper and Kesari is a Marathi newspaper. Okay. Now, around 1960, he started Home Rule League movement in India. And the pioneer for Home Rule League movement, the idea was initially of Annie Besant. Now, Annie Besant started her own Home Rule League and Tilakji started his own Home Rule League. And what do you mean by Home Rule? Home Rule basically means it is India and we have the authority to govern our own nation. So this movement was initiated by Bal Gangadhar Tilakji in 1916. Although the idea was of Annie Besant, Annie Besant's Home Rule League movement was started in September 1916 and Tilak's Home Rule League movement was started in April 1916. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah was very closely associated with Bal Gangadhar Tilak initially. Like it is said that Muhammad Ali Jinnah was also referred as Muslim Gokhale. He always tried to follow the principles and the policies initially of Bal Gangadhar Tilakji. Now, moderates believe that initially, now pay proper attention. So, because there can be question in the exam in a very different manner. Initially, Bal Gangadhar Tilak said that I want Swaraj, that is complete independence. But with the passage of time, he said that we want self-government. Like we will be associated with the Britishers, but we will have our own sovereignty. We will have the right to elect our own president, prime minister, dignitaries, and council of ministers. So initially he demanded complete independence, but later he said basically that we want self-government. Like I have talked about basically that there was famine in the region of Deccan and he raised the plight of the peasants in the region of Deccan. Now, for example, he launched a no revenue campaign there. Already the peasants, already the cultivators or the farmers of the Deccan, that is Maharashtra, are suffering from the wrath of famine. And now Britishers are raising the land revenue for that. he initiated a movement for the plight of the peasant, and that is no revenue campaign. No peasant is going to pay any sort of the tax to the Britishers. Then he was a very important participant in Swadeshi and boycott movement. Now let us understand this. In 1905, after the partition of Bengal was announced, a call for Swadeshi movement was given in 1905 session of Indian National Congress, which was held at Banaras. And this session was presided by G.K. Gokhale. Now, initially it was decided that the session would be confined to the region of Bengal itself. But with the passage of time, when the movement became successful, it was decided that the movement should be carried on pan-India basis. So one section wanted the movement to be confined to the Bengal itself, and the other section wanted the movement to spread to the other parts of India. That is on pan-India basis. Okay? So moderates wanted to confine in Bengal and extremists wanted the movement to spread in other parts. Now it is said that from Bengal, the movement spread to United Province, that is present day Uttar Pradesh. And Bal Gangadhar Tilak was called in United Province basically to sensitize the youth of the United Province. And he created a wave of nationalism. He stirred the wave of nationalism among the youth of northern part of India. Not only northern part of India, but also in the Bombay Presidency. So he also played a very exemplary role in Swadeshi movement and boycott movement. Then, this was also the era of revolutionaries. Revolutionary in Hindi is called as Krantikari. Like there were various Krantikaris and revolutionaries at this time, like Ram Prasad Bismil, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Durga Bhabhi, then Ashfaqullah Khan. All these were revolutionaries because they completely believed in different sort of ideology. We will study about revolutionaries in a very different session or a very different chapter. Now, basically, Praful Chaki and Khudiram Bose threw a bomb on the chief magistrate of Calcutta, that is Douglas Kingford. Now, he was going on his chariot basically. Every day he used to go, like Douglas Kingford, he used to go on his chariot. Now, Praful Chaki and Khudiram Bose did not knew basically that he was not sitting in a chariot on that day when they threw the bomb. And when they threw the bomb, two women were sitting in the chariot, and these two women were killed. Now, Chaki immediately committed suicide, and Khudiram Bose was hanged. Basically, the policies of the Britishers were the main reason behind throwing bomb on the Douglas Kingford. Rather than interpreting the policies, now they have created what? They have started killing our revolutionaries basically. And this incident was heavily criticized by Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji in his newspaper Kesari. He supported the cause of Prafulla Chaki and Khudiram Bose. Then, as I've already told you, he started Shri Shivaji Fund basically for the Shivaji festival. If you remember ancient India, I have told you Arctic home of Vedas. He said that basically Aryans came from poles, they came from the Arctic, and he opposed Age of Consent Bill 1891. Now you will feel that why did he oppose Age of Consent Bill 1891? There was a statement in UPSC exam. Bal Gangadhar Tilak opposed Age of Consent Bill 1891. More than 70% of the student gave this answer wrong because they felt that he is a national leader, he will always support the societal reform. Then why will he oppose Age of Consent Bill? So everybody marked this statement as wrong. My friends, this statement is correct. He opposed Age of Consent Bill. Now why did he oppose Age of Consent Bill? The reason behind that, we Indians are going to make rules and regulations for us. We will initiate our own reforms. Getting the points clear? He believed in one thing. He believed that before going, like every leader believed in societal reform rather than political reform. He believed in political reform and then in societal reform. He believed that we people have the authority to frame rules and regulation for ourselves. No alien rule can make rules and regulation for us. We will be making rules and regulation for us. That is why he opposed Age of Consent Bill. So this is all about Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji. Hope so the points are clear about Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Yes, guys, please let me know. Yes, Jai Shri, Shiva Jayanti. Good evening, Ram Kumar. Yes, guys, please let me know. Did you understand Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji? Okay, now let us understand about Lala Lajpat Rai. Now, Lala Lajpat Rai was a Punjabi author, politician, and lawyer. He is also called as Punjab Kesari or Lion of Punjab. I've talked about that as per Charter Act 1813, Christian missionaries were allowed to come in India and preach Christianity. In the name of preaching Christianity, they started forceful conversion of people into Christianity. Now they started making various laws. Like one of the laws said that if Indians do not get converted into Christianity, they would not inherit their ancestral property. I've talked about this basically. So he started Hindu Orphan Relief Movement. And what is Hindu Orphan Relief Movement? The children who were orphan, who did not had anybody to look care of them, to take care of them. He started an orphanage for them, basically, so that they won't be forcefully converted into Christianity by the Britishers. Then there is an important act which is also referred as Government of India Act 1919, also referred as Montego Chelmsford reforms, that we are going to study in detail in our later session. So as per this reform, there is one clause that after 10 years, basically, a commission would be appointed to review the working of Montego Chelmsford reform. So a commission came in 1927 in India, and that was called as Simon Commission. And its basic purpose was to review the working of Government of India Act 1919. Now wherever Simon Commission went, it was greeted with black flag, and there were slogans being raised. Simon, go back. Simon, go back. Wherever he went to Bombay, he went to Calcutta, he went to Punjab. Like Simon was greeted with these, what we say, slogans. Simon, go back. And he was greeted with black flags all over India. Now, when this commission reached Punjab, now Lala Lajpat Rai was leading the, what we say, basically the movement in the Punjab against the Simon Commission, and there were huge lathi blows on Lala Lajpat Rai ji. And basically, he had lot many lathi blows on his chest, and he died there. And basically, it is said that the person who had taken the revenge for this was Bhagat Singh ji. We are going to discuss about these revolutionaries when we are going to talk about revolutionaries. So basically, he was completely opposed to Simon Commission. He was inspired by an Italian thinker whose name was Mazzini. Mazzini was an Italian thinker, he was a philosopher, he was a politician, he was an author. And he was very much, what we say, inspired by the revolutionary ideas of an Italian thinker, Mazzini. Now, he did not like the Congress policy of appeasement. Now, it is said that sometimes Lala Lajpat Rai ji was criticized for one of his article which he has written in the, what we say, newspaper Tribune. And he said that we want a separate Hindu nation and we want a separate Muslim nation. Now, why did he say like that? The reason behind that, in 1916 there was a pact which is called as Lucknow Pact. Now, Muslim League decided to work with the Congress basically on certain terms and conditions. Getting the points? Now Lala Lajpat Rai felt that if particular party is supporting just on the basis of terms and condition, it simply highlights the flaws of basically the movement basically. Why? Because if there is a pact, getting the points clear, it is an advantage to our enemy, because our enemy will understand if they are entering into a pact, it simply means that they have differences. That is why they are entering into the pact. And Britishers have taken undue advantage of this. That is why he wrote an article for a separate nation for Hindu and Muslim, and he was heavily criticized for this. Now, there was arrival of MK Gandhi in India. Now, initially, MK Gandhi did not took active participation in the Indian politics, as it was suggested by his political guru Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now, GK Gokhale told him that you first tour the entire India. After touring the entire India, basically, you collect the information about the condition of India and then you enter into the active politics in India. So, initially, for 1.5 to 2 years, he did not involve himself in the active politics. But later on, he started entering into the active politics with Champaran Satyagraha. We have talked about Champaran Satyagraha and peasant movement. Now, it is said that MK Gandhi urged different sections of the Congress to start a movement called as non-cooperation movement. And the twin pillars of the non-cooperation movement was non-violence and satyagraha. Now, this movement was initiated. More than it is said that many satyagrahis were imprisoned during this movement. Many satyagrahis were killed. Many nationalists were killed. And in 90, but still the movement was very successful. Now, when the movement became successful, various Congress leaders said that the time is ripe that we should immediately start civil disobedience movement. But there was an incident called as Chauri Chaura incidents at a place called as Gorakhpur. We are going to discuss this in detail. Now, in this incident, 22 policemen were killed during the movement, and Gandhi immediately called off the entire non-cooperation movement, which was running for past 3 years and was quite successful by now. Now, Lala Lajpat Rai got very angry on this. He said that to develop a nationalist fervor, to develop nationalism, it takes time, it takes efforts, and we have nurtured this movement for past 3 years. And just because of a frivolous incidents where 22 policemen were killed, you have taken the movement back. And more than thousands of satyagrahis were killed, then the movement was not taken back. So he was very angry on this step taken by MK Gandhi, and he parted away from Congress and started his own party called as Congress Independence Party. He also started his own hospital called as Gulab Devi Hospital for women, and it was basically in the memory of his mother. And basically, Gulab Devi Hospital was for treatment of women who were suffering from tuberculosis. Then he was a president of the Indian National Congress in 1920 session. Now it is also said that he was also a part of All India Trade Union Congress, which was formed in 1920. He founded Servants of People Society, a non-profit welfare organization, to work for the people who are involved in what, like who are struck by famine, who are struck by problems of earthquake, unemployment, and so on. So he started Servants of People Society. Please do not get confused. Servants of India Society is different and Servant of People Society is different. Okay. Then he was founder of many organizations like Hissar Congress, Hissar Arya Samaj, and so on. And he had written a lot many books basically. So guys, did you understand Lala Lajpat Rai ji? Yes, please let me know. Yes, this has been depicted in Rang De Basanti as well. Yes, very good, Sarfaraz. All India Trade Union Congress was formed by Narayan Malhar Joshi, NM Joshi. Yes, please let me know. Did you understand this? Now let's move a bit faster. Now let us understand Aurobindo Ghosh. Now Aurobindo Ghosh was an extremist leader in the region of Bengal. Now, basically it is said that while he was working as a lecturer in Baroda, he wrote an article called as New Lamp for Old. And in this article, he severely criticized the policies of moderates and he supported the policies of the extremist section of the what we say Indian National Congress. And New Lamps for Old, these articles are also called as Bible for extremism, because they have put in all sorts of revolutionary ideas into it. Now, why it is called as New Lamps for Old? Because to basically tackle the Britishers, traditional ideas and practices won't work. We have to follow new strategy and new ideas to throw out the alien rule from our country. That is why it is called as New Lamp for Old. And he also wrote a series of articles in Bangadarshan, a journal of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Now, he gave basically the connotation of mother to India. He gave the word Mother India, and because the word mother, what we say, it creates a sort of emotional sentiments basically. That is why he connoted India as a mother, which would serve basically as what it would develop a nationalist fervor in the country. He advocated the policy of passive resistance, and passive resistance was a policy followed by the extremists throughout their protest, throughout their wave of nationalism. And what is passive resistance? Let us understand this. Please try and understand the concept of passive resistance. Now, suppose I am a lawyer and Britishers have started the court. Now, although Britishers have started the court, I will not go as a lawyer. I will not practice the profession of as a lawyer. Suppose Britishers have, I am a student and Britishers have started government school. I will not attend the government school. Why? Because they were started by the Britishers. Means indirectly opposing the policies of the Britishers. This is called as passive resistance. Got the points clear? So this idea was advocated by Aurobindo Ghosh, and he, what we say, he wrote various articles in the newspaper about passive resistance, and for this he was arrested. And it is said that finally after his release, basically he was arrested, and after his release he was settled in a French territory of Pondicherry, where he started his own ashram. Okay, he started his own ashram with a lady named as basically Mira Richards, or she is also referred as Mira. Basically, her name is, yes, he started an ashram with Mira Richards, basically. Okay, now he started yogic practices. He started internal yoga, and he parted away from internal politics. And he started, that lady was also called as Mira Alfasa. Okay, this lady was born in Paris. Then she learned the techniques of occultism. She learned the techniques of yoga in Algeria. And when she came to India, an ashram was started along with Aurobindo Ghosh at Pondicherry. Okay, he has played a very wonderful role in Swadeshi movement. Basically, he was instrumental in founding in Indu Prakash newspaper, Anushilan Samiti in Bengal. He worked for the Swadeshi movement, boycott, national education, and so on. Now, he was also involved in Alipur conspiracy case. And what is Alipur conspiracy case? This conspiracy case is like basically raiding or looting the, what we say, arms and ammunition factories of the Britishers. So basically, he was arrested for that as well. He was charged for that as well, although he did not had a direct involvement in it. So majorly, this is about Shri Aurobindo Ghosh. Yes, guys, did you understand Shri Aurobindo Ghosh? Please let me know. Satya, Lala Lajpat Rai ji was sent to the jail at Mandalay when he was arrested for writing against the Britishers. He was arrested and sent to the jail in Mandalay, which is located in Burma. Hope so, Satya, I have answered your question. Now, let us understand about Bipin Chandra Pal. Now, Bipin Chandra Pal was initially a moderate, but later he turned on extremist because he was completely dissatisfied with the policies of the moderates. He was completely dissatisfied with the working pattern and the style of moderates. Okay. Now, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh has also called him mightiest prophets of nationalism in India. A very important statement which have been asked in various examinations. Like for example, who is called as the mightiest prophet of nationalism in India? So Bipin Chandra Pal is called as mightiest prophet, and he was called by Sri Aurobindo Ghosh ji. Got the points clear? And he started his own brand of nationalism. Like he said that basically it is the youth basically who can stir the revolution in the country. It is the youth which can raise a wave of nationalism throughout the country. And he believed in the capacity of masses and not of the elite section. So basically, he started New India, a magazine to propagate his own brand of nationalism. And he started his journalist career with his a weekly newspaper called as Paridarshak. Okay, then he was a participant in boycott of foreign goods movement. Now let us understand one concept. Swadeshi and boycott are both interrelated terminology. They are not separate terminology. When there is Swadeshi, there is always a boycott associated with it. Why? What do you mean by Swadeshi? Swadeshi basically means use of the goods which are produced in one's own country. And when the goods, basically, when we are going to adopt the goods when that are produced in our own country, when we will boycott the other goods. So Swadeshi and the boycott components in the movement was added by Bipin Chandra Pal ji. And he was what we say editor of two newspapers, that is Democrat and Independent. Okay, he is also associated with Brahmo Samaj, and he, along with the politics, he was also involved in socio-religious reform movements. Like he encouraged widow remarriage and female education, and he has written various books as well, like Swaraj and Present Situation and Soul of India. Okay, also the points are clear, my friends. Yes, Sarfraz, like Atmanirbhar Bharat. Ashwin Kumar Dutt. Now, Ashwin Kumar Dutt, if you remember, he was also one of the pioneer of basically education. Then he had started various associations. He has started various organizations which I have mentioned here, and majorly his views were concentrated in the field of education. Now, why he was concentrated in the field of education? Because he believed that education was a tool to sensitize the masses. So he had started lot many organizations like people's associations, then Bakarganj, basically welfare society, then Netri Sangh. All these associations were started by Ashwin Kumar Dutt in Barisal, and Barisal is located in the present day region of Bangladesh. Okay, along with Bipin Chandra Pal, he was also associated with boycott of foreign goods. Like I'll give you a small example. When there was a protest of Swadeshi movement going on in Bengal, heaps of foreign clothes were brought on the road, and these foreign clothes were burnt, and basically khadi goods were used at that time. Got the points clear? Heaps of foreign clothes were brought on the roads, and these what we say clothes were what we say completely burnt, and basically there was adoption of khadi. Then he raised lots of movements for the Bengal railway workers, Assam railway workers, and so on. He worked for the what we say welfare of the planters in the region of Assam as well. And Gandhi also once visited Barisal, which is located in present day Bangladesh, that is East Bengal. Hope so the points are clear. Now, V.O. Chidambaram Pillai was a leader of the extremist section from the region of Tamil Nadu, and he was a disciple of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He completely followed the principles of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and he was the first person to launch indigenous shipping. Now, what is indigenous shipping? Any goods that are going from India to any other country would go through his ship. Now, it was a sort of a competition towards the British ships, because initially to have a monopoly over the trade, and to maximize their profit margin, basically Britishers had introduced something called as a system where any goods that would be coming into India would be coming in British ships, and any goods that would be going outside India would be going in the British ships. So basically, they were having the monopoly over the transportation trade. But this monopoly was broken by V.O. Chidambaram Pillai, and he started his own shipping basically from Tuticorin and Colombo, Tuticorin to Colombo basically. And for this, basically, he was charged with sedition and he was sent to life imprisonment for this. He started various institutions like Yuvanesh Prachar Sabha, where he sensitized the youth, Desh Abhiman Sangam, and Madras Agro Industrial Society. So, this is majorly about important extremist leaders. So, friends, did you understand important extremist leaders? Please let me know. Yes, I personally feel yes, yes, Anshu, you have raised a very good point. Like only Chinese apps are boycotted, but still we need to boycott these things as well. Like various Chinese apps, various Chinese instruments needs to be boycotted. The reason behind that, I'll give you a very small example. Okay. Usually, whenever we are buying a particular object, for example, suppose there is a lady who is 80 years old, and in Deepavali she is selling certain what we say small earthen lamps. We go for bargaining that, but whenever we go to a mall, we buy a particular Chinese product. We never bargain with that, isn't that so? So now we are like, if you see the budgetary process, you will come to know in that balance of trade section, we are already in a deficit of $81 billion with China. We are buying so many goods from China. Although these goods can be produced in a very efficient manner in India. So it is necessary to boycott all these Chinese goods. Isn't that so? Yes, it is necessary to boycott these goods. Now, let us understand objectives and methods used by extremists. Yes, Sarfaraz. See, we have talked about important extremist leaders. See, like there are hundreds of moderate leaders, there are hundreds of extremist leaders, but we have spoken about important ones. But still, both of the section worked in their own manner. Okay, there are certain flaws of extremist as well. We are going to discuss when we'll be discussing about what we say the various revolutionaries. So we'll be discussing about the flaws of extremist as well there. Okay. Yes, Satya, it is a sort of drain of wealth. Now let us understand objective and methods used by extremists. Now, initially I've talked about moderates. Now, what did moderates believe? Moderates believed in self-government. It simply means that we will not detach ourselves from the Britishers, okay, but we will have our own sovereignty. We will have our own sovereignty to appoint, to elect our own dignitaries. But what did extremists believe? They believed in complete independence. Independence means complete detachment from the foreign rule or from the alien rule. So it was not just the self government, but complete independence. But there are different connotation of this. Like initially, Tilak said, Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. So for Tilak, initially, Swaraj was what? Complete independence. But with the passage of time, he believed in self government. But Bipin Chandrapal said complete autonomy. Independence means complete independence. We will have no relations with the Britain. Like, for example, in self government, there would be some sort of interference by the Britain. But in complete autonomy, Britishers will not have a single stake in the administration. And for Aurobindo Ghosh also, there were independence means self-rule. Now, what are their methods basically? I have already talked about their methods, and one of the method is passive resistance. Now, what is passive resistance basically? What is passive resistance basically? Now, for example, if Britishers have started law courts, the lawyers will boycott the court. If Britishers have started educational institutions, our students will boycott these educational institutions. So that is called as passive resistance. That is policy of boycotting government school, colleges and courts. Then basically those laws which we feel are unjust, those laws which we feel are derogatory towards us, we should not follow these laws. I'll give you a very small example. Suppose Britishers have came up with an act called as Arms Act. And as per this act, only Britishers have the authority to keep weapons and arms and ammunition. Why? Because they feel that they are unsafe from the Indians. Like you guys are unsafe from the Indians, so we people are also not feeling safe from you. So, in fact, Indians should also be given the authority to bear the arms because law should be same for everyone. It should not be different for anybody. Isn't that so? So basically, if you're allowing to keep arms to the Britishers, similarly, Indians should also be allowed to bear arms. So basically, Aurobindo Ghosh said that if you feel that if a particular law is derogatory towards your right, you can break that law. It is also said that moderates believed in constitutional limit, but they believed that even sometimes if you have to get violent, you should not be afraid of that. So extremist, the name itself suggests you should be able to take extreme steps to gain independence. And they believed in promotion of national education. Okay? They believed in promotion of national education. Now let us understand. Yes, Satya, all these basically highlights the what sort of efforts were taken by our nationalists to gain independence. Yes, Jayashri, please can you repeat your question so that I can answer it? Yes, Jayashri, please repeat the question. Okay, now let us understand difference between the moderates and the extremist. Now, I have already discussed about this. The social base for moderate was zamindar and the upper sections of the society. But the social base for extremist was educated class and the middle class in the town. I'll give you a small example. Basically, they were usually inspired by the outside thinkers, but our extremists were usually inspired by our own history. They were inspired by our own past. Were inspired by our own past. Then, majorly the ideological base was Western liberal thought for the moderates. But for extremists, it was our own India's past history. Okay? Moderates believed in providential mission theory. What is providential mission theory? It simply means maintaining loyalty to the British crown because some or the other day Britishers are going to repay for our loyalty. But extremists never believed in loyalty towards the British crown because they believed that Britishers are unworthy for our loyalty. They do not deserve our loyalty. Getting the points there because they are taking undue advantage of each and every situation in India. So they were completely opposed to this. Then basically moderates believe that our masses are not prepared for this. Our masses are not prepared for a revolution on a large scale. But extremists believe that they completely believed in the capacity of the masses basically. Got the points clear? Moderates believe that whatever changes we want, it should be completely within the constitutional limit. We should not go beyond the constitutional limit. But extremists believe that even for attaining independence, if you have to go beyond the constitutional limit, do not hesitate for that. You can go beyond the constitutional limit as well. So these are the differences between the ideology of the moderates and the extremists. Okay, please go through certain important facts. Yes, Satya, I would be conducting a small session on answer writing techniques, how to write proper answers, what should be proper pattern of writing the answer, what paragraph should be maintained. I would be taking a separate session on that as well. Yes, Satya. So please go through certain important facts. Yes, guys. Please write down today's question if you're noting it down. Yes, Vaishali, I would be conducting a session on answer writing practice as well. Yes, don't worry. I would be conducting a session. Today's question is, explain the differences in the working pattern of moderates and extremists. I repeat, explain the differences in working pattern of moderates and extremists. Okay? Yes, guys. Today's session, what we say PDF, I would be posting in the comment box of YouTube itself. Okay? Please subscribe to Unacademy and use my code AKOUS. I repeat the code AKOUS. Thank you guys and have a very nice day.